Today we're going to be learning how to create this particle explosion in After Effects using the After Effects particle animation tool. It's going to be a pretty simple process. Let's go ahead and get started. To start, let's make a new composition. We're going to make it 2000 by 2000 and we're going to rename it Explosion. Okay, we want 30 frames a second. We'll let the duration sit wherever it is. We're going to cull it down later. So let's hit OK. We'll go into our composition. You'll see by default it's going to be a black background. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go to Layer, Layer, New, and we need to make a solid. Just click on Make Comp Solid, and it's okay to use black. Whatever you have is fine. We'll just be animating on black here. Just hit OK. Now, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to the particle emitter. Once we've created this solid, we'll go up here to Effect, Simulation, and we're going to use CC Particle World. We're not going to be using Particle Systems 2. So if you do that, you can see it brings in, there's a little red circle in the center, there's a blue grid, and then there's this little icon up here. All of your controls are going to be in your effects control window. So if you just open that up, you can see you've got grids and guides, which we're not going to need today. We're going to have birth rate, that's the number of particles that are spawned. Longevity is how long they live, and then we'll go through each one of these as we create our particle. Let's go ahead and bracket our preview to about 150 frames, and if we just play through it, you can see that by default it gives us this orange and yellow shower of sparks. These sparks are living until they fall off screen, so we're going to have to change some things up. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into Producer, and we're just going to check what the producer is. The center is at 0, 0, 0, so it's at the center of the screen, and the radius is 0.025. That means it's basically going to be emitting from a single source, so that's fine for us. Now let's go into Physics. We'll open this up. You can see that by default we use the explosive physics, but you can change those here. For this exercise, we're going to use explosive. We'll go ahead and leave the velocity at 1 right now just so you can see how it changes, and we'll change the gravity to 0.1. So once we've done that, if you preview through, you can see the sparks are now emitting, and they're sort of staying here in the center of the screen instead of falling directly off the screen. We're going to change the velocity to 5, and let's see how that changes. You can see now it just shoots those sparks out even faster. So to compensate for that, we're going to change the resistance here to 15. Let's see how that looks. And you can see that's good. It contains our particles within our scene here. So if you just play through, you can see you're getting a good circle of particles. You can even up this velocity to 6, and you can see now that the particles are getting out here to the edges of the screen. So that's good. We're not going to touch any of these over here. We'll just close up our physics, and we'll now go into the particle rollout. So here in particle, we're going to change our particle type here to star, and you can see it's going to change it to a star. We're going to go ahead and leave the birth size and the death size as is for now. We'll change the max opacity to 100. Let's change 100, not a 1. And then we'll just go ahead and leave the color here until we bring in our image. So if you preview through now, you can see the stars are flying out and they're fading out as they get down to the end of their lifespan. So let's go ahead and change our birth rate. We'll just change that to 1 to see how that changes it. We'll change the longevity to 0.8. And now you can see that the stars are coming out, but they're fewer and they're fading out faster. So one of the things we want to add is we want to add those coins flying in here. So let's go into our project. And as the source of this project, you should have a video game coin. We're going to drag that down into the composition, and we're going to hide it. Now, right now we're emitting a default type of particle that is a star. But instead, we're going to change this to a textured square. When you change it to a textured square, you'll see that it'll pretty much disappear because you need to assign a texture to it. So let's open up texture. And the texture layer is going to be another layer that's present in your composition. So you're just going to go ahead and click on Video Game Coin. And then we'll go ahead and preview. And you can see that the coins are flying out. They're very small and they're colored. So the coin itself, if you'll just look at the image, has an inherent color that we want to keep. So we're going to change our birth color to white. And we'll change our death color to white. So now if we preview it, you can see the coins are staying their own color. They're a little bit small, so let's change the size. We'll change the birth size to 1, and we'll change the death size to 1.3. Let's just go ahead and preview, and you can see now it's making those coins. We can get those a little bit smaller, so let's just say 0.8 and 0.9. And let's change the size variation to about 30%. So now the coins are all spawning. Good. So it's previewing through and these coins are flying through. And that's looking good. That's exactly what we want it to do right now. So if we go now into our birth rate, we're going to change the birth rate to 0. And you can see that when you do that, it emits 0 particles. So we're going to make basically one point in the timeline where the particles spawn. We'll go to frame 10, and we're just going to key our birth rate at 0. Then we're going to go 2 frames in, 1, 2, to frame 12, and we're going to set our birth rate. Let's just set our birth rate at like 5. Okay, you can see it's going to spawn these coins. And if we just go to our keyable controls, you can see that you've only got 2 keys, and now we're going to turn that off. So we're going to go here to frame 17, and we're going to turn the birth rate back to 0. So let's go ahead and preview that. You can see now that all those coins spawn at one time, and that means we can bring our preview in because the coins are pretty much gone by this point. So the coins spawn, and then they fade out. So let's go ahead and change that birth rate right here in the spike. Let's just change that to, it's at 5 right now. Let's change it to 4. Let's just see. So good, now you're getting a few less particles. So we've created the spawn of our coins. The only thing we need to do now is we need to add those other sparkles that are there. And once you've created one particle burst, you can just duplicate it, and then you can use it as another type of particle in the scene. So let's rename this to coin. We're going to right click on it. We're going to go, we're going to select it. We're going to hit Control D and duplicate it. We're going to rename this, and we'll call this Sparkles. Let's go ahead and open up Sparkles. We'll go into Effects and select this CC particle world. Now you're not going to see any change because these two particles have exactly the same attributes and the same keys. So we're going to have to change some things up. We're going to go here into Particle. We'll change from Textured Square to Star again. We're going to change the birth color to more of kind of like a golden. And then we'll change the death color to a little bit of a darker orange, not too dark. Okay, and now we're going to change the birth rate, and we're going to change the producer size so that the stars are a little bit different. So if we open up our CC particle world here, here where our particles are spawning, we're going to change that to 3.1. You'll see that it will change some of those particles. And we'll go here into our producer, and we're going to make our radius 0.05, 0.05, and 0.05. Now the stars themselves are pretty big, so let's bring those down. We'll change the birth size down to 0.4. We'll change the death size down to 0.5. Okay, let's just see how this looks. Okay, good. They're still there. They're still overlapping. So let's go ahead and change this up by changing the velocity. We'll go here into our physics. We'll change the velocity to 5.5. And let's change the radius again. Let's just change the radius x to be 0.08. So now let's go ahead and spawn it. You can see you're seeing those particles still. Let's go ahead and drag the coin above it. And let's take the sparkles and let's change their birth color to more of like a light yellow so we can see them. All right, there you go. So now we're getting some of those sparkles in there. And you can also offset the sparkles container so that you can see those sparkles in and around the coins. And that's going to be basically the assignment today. So we're just going to make this one particle burst. And then once you're done, then you just go ahead and make a movie of this and go ahead and turn it in.